Hey everyone, my name is Billy Wink and I'm the CEO of HV Auto, and today I'm going to give you my feedback on how I would take the steps in buying a Porsche in 2024. And this is based on my experience as an owner of these cars and buyer and seller of these cars for the past 7 years. So I'm basically going to go over 5 points and then break them down. So my first one is, what is the purpose of the car to you? Is this a dream car that you've always wanted? Is this a additional Porsche because you've already had one? Is it, just an entry-level Porsche? You just want to get your feet winged into the first car? Is it a daily driver? Or is it just like, hey, I just like cars. It's not like a huge decision for me. I make plenty of money and I'm just picking up a Taycan or Cayenne or Panamera, just something to drive. So I would look at what is the purpose of the car. And then based on that, that's how I'd take the next steps, because if you don't know the reason why you're buying the car, then you're not going to get the best results. So my second thing is, what do you want? And what I mean by that is, there any specific options you're looking for? Do you need a 2-door? Do you need a 4-door? Do you need a sedan? Do you need a coupe? Do you want the convertible? Do you know all the options available to you? Is it just for you, or is it something to share with your wife or your kids or your family as a whole? Knowing those factors, I think, is very important in the process of finding the right Porsche for you. My third point is pretty important. Now, what is your budget, right? Because now that we've figured out where we're headed, now we need to know what our budget is to finding the right Porsche that fits inside of what you're looking for. So what is your financial position buying a Porsche? Is it cash? Is it finance? Can you afford it too, right? How are you going to take this on? Because this can be a large investment depending on what model you get. So just making sure that whatever path you take fits your needs best and puts you in the best position to actually enjoy your purchase. And then the fourth option is, where should you buy the car from? Because you've got franchise dealerships, you got Porsche franchise, you've got independent, you've got private party, you've got wholesale, you've got auction. So let's just kind of go over what that looks like. So if you buy from an independent Porsche dealership, us for instance, we know the cars, we try to buy high spec cars, we know what brakes on the cars. The other benefit buying through independent Porsche dealership is overhead. Obviously, we don't have a franchise, so we're gonna have lower overhead in most cases. So you may get a better price on the car, but not always. Then you have Porsche dealerships. So if you're buying from a Porsche dealership, they know the cars as well. They're gonna service the cars as well, but they're gonna have higher overhead costs, which could affect how much you pay for the car. So that's another factor. If you go through a auctions like Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, yeah, you could pay a great price, you could pay a bad price. It really just depends on the day who's been on the car. There's a chance the car has service records, there's a chance it doesn't. So there's a little bit of risk with that. If you're buying private party, well, at that point, there's other things to consider. You may get a lower price, but the service may not be up to date. The car may not be inspected. You may have title issues. You may have payoff issues. So think about that as well. I'm not trying to say that you should never buy a private party, but there just could be other associated risks. Wholesale, well, that's the highest risk, because the car is most likely not serviced, there's most likely not a warranty, and you're most likely not getting a car for a wholesale price unless you have a dealer's license or a friend in the industry. So again, it's a little bit harder entry point at wholesale auctions buying these cars. And now, my fifth point is, what should you pay for the car? So that's a tough one, right? For example, this car is a very well-spec car. It's not new, it's a pre-owned car. It's like new. MSRP is a little different when you're buying pre-owned. So you could have, let's use a 2020 GT4, 110 MSRP versus 125 MSRP car. How these cars are priced may be within a couple $1,000s of each other. So keep that in mind. If you're looking at two of the same cars and one's a couple more $1,000s, are you gonna really get the lower spec car for a couple $1,000s? Because when you're buying pre-owned, in a lot of times, or a lot of cases, you can get a higher spec car for less money. But here's the other thing to consider too. If you're finding a well-optioned car, a very well-serviced car, and then you've got this car over here that's low option, no service records, bad Carfax, is it worth paying $5,000 less for this car or this car? Well, that's really, what are you willing to take on as risk? Because you could get this car and it could be great, but when it's time to resell it, you've got a lot of things working against you. Or it could be terrible. It could break, you could have issues with it. So all I'm saying is, just keep that in mind. When you're buying a car, don't always go for the cheapest car, because yeah, you may save $3,000 or $4,000, but when you have an $8,000 or $10,000 repair bill in the service shop, then you're gonna regret buying that car. The other thing to think about too is mileage, how many were produced, things of that nature. So in summary, look at what the cars are selling for in the market, factor in service history, factor in condition, factor in options and spec, and then also use your own judgment too. If you're in the position to buy one of these cars, if you're watching a video like this, you've obviously done your research and you probably have a good sense of what you think is a fair price for a car. But also keep this in mind, and this is a big one. We as dealers don't have tens and $20,000 and $30,000 margin in these types of cars. With the transparency in online pricing, online wholesale auctions, online retail auctions, it's really hard to have high margins in cars anymore. So if you're looking at this car online for $150,000, don't think you're going to offer a dealership $125,000 to buy this car. If you buy the car, you should run, because there's probably a really big issue with the car, and that's how they got it to a point where they could sell it to you with that kind of margin. So just keep that in mind when you're buying these cars. You know, there's not massive margins. You can get a good price and a good deal. You just gotta be patient and try to find the car that best fits your needs. So those are my 5 points. I mean, obviously we could get, you know, really micro with this, but I want to try to keep it efficient and effective as possible. So, you know, if you take those considerations in mind, I think that's a good outline for you to get a good car and find what you're looking for. But just keep in mind, you know, everybody's wants and needs are different, and it's really about finding what car you like and you enjoy, because at the end of the day, if the car makes you happy and you're in the financial position to buy it, you can't put a price on happiness. So hopefully we gave you all the value you're looking for. Comment below on what your thoughts are on this video, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.